It's me, Kirk. I'm actually back for another week. Well, a couple of days. It's been a couple of days since I did the last episode. This is episode 5, since last episode was 4 when I did another weekend movie edition. This one, I wanted to concentrate on one episode of a show, not The Office. Even though I did watch an episode of The Office since the last show, a friend of mine mentioned something about Toby saying no more s'mores. So, of course, I had to watch that episode, the Survivor Man episode when Michael goes out to live in the woods. But that's not what I'm here to talk about, because this is Stop Watching The Office. And so instead, I wanted to talk about one episode of Seinfeld, because on the last episode of this show, I alluded to, I was just watching Seinfeld. One of my favorite episodes came on season 9, where Jerry got the van for free, and he had his friend that would like to run off in the woods, and George wanted to get his parents to see him with his cousin. It was a crazy episode. It was so funny. But I don't know if it's the episode right after that. But one of the next episodes, episode 8, it's called The Betrayal. But it's more known for the episode that's kind of it goes backwards. So the first scene you see is the last scene, and the story is told backwards. I watched it again, and I realized how amazing that episode is. It's the one where they all, well, not all, but Elaine, Jerry, George, and George's girlfriend named Nina all go to India. Because a past character from Elaine, from a while ago, that's Sue Ellen Mitchke, the really tall woman who never wore a bra that always got on Elaine's nerves, is getting married, and she sends her an invitation. So you find out, because the very first scene, they get back to the U.S., and then you go and find out that Elaine at one point slept with the groom. His name is Pinter, but she knew him as Peter, and they slept together years before. And then George yells that out in the middle of the wedding in India. And you go all the way back to find out that Jerry slept with George's girlfriend, Nina, who he brought to India with. He finds out because he gives Elaine peach schnapps, and she can't keep a secret when she's drunk. And then Kramer is being haunted by FDR, who wants him to drop dead. And it plays back. This is a very funny scene, these back-to-back scenes, because they show it'll say 2 hours ago, an hour ago, a day ago, or something like that. And it's one where Kramer, at the first scene you see, he's like one of those big, huge lollipops. He's finishing it off, and as it goes backwards, the lollipop gets bigger because it's backwards in time. But that episode stands up so well. Watching it now, it still is funny. You would think something from, I think it came out in 97. 1997. That, it would not stand the test of time. But that episode is still funny. It's still genius. And I was sitting there wondering, I was like, who came up with that and who wrote it? I looked up the writers. Nothing really stood out. It looked like just people who've written on Seinfeld before, because it's season 9, which is the last season of Seinfeld. So I know they went through a lot of writers for that show. But looking at information on it, the backstory of the episode, since it's called The Betrayal, it's based on a play from the 1970s called The Betrayal, from an English playwright named Harold Pinter, which, a side note that the guy in the Seinfeld episode thing was Pinter. And the writer of the play, the original play, was named Harold Pinter. But it's about a love triangle between a character named Jerry, his friend Robert, and the wife Emma, about an affair. And the play itself is backwards, just like that Seinfeld episode. That's what they got it from. The play starts out with the affair, and then it plays back over 9 years of how the friendship and all that, love triangle and all that stuff. It was also a movie, too, in the 80s. With Ben Kingsley, Jeremy Irons, and Patricia Hodge, who, when I looked her up, I remember that she's the mother from that show Miranda, which I love. Such fun. But yeah, It was really interesting looking up this episode because I realized that's where they got the idea from, that play, and they have little nods to the play with the characters' names and all that. But that episode is so funny. And watching it again, like when you watch stuff over and over, especially like I do with The Office, you realize small stuff. Like I watched this again, and there's a scene where they're flying to India, and they're like on a plane, and there's a part when there's one part where George is talking to Jerry, and then George is talking to Elaine or someone, but like all the extras are Indian people because they're on a plane to India, and every single extra is like staring at them talking. Like no one's just doing the extra thing they do in most scenes where they're just like talking to each other or looking somewhere or asleep since they're on a plane. Every single extra is looking to whoever's talking on camera. It's the funniest thing to me. And they're all like have this surprise look on their face. I don't know why that makes me laugh. Like when you watch stuff over and over, you notice little weird things like that. But that show is so funny. That show and that episode, I just wanted to talk about how great the episode was and how it stood the test of time. Because the main thing I wanted to talk about, like I was thinking about like how Seinfeld is one of those shows that was like, that came from a stand-up comedian who got his own show. And I was like, how many shows have actually done that? I was like, most you hear about the ones that don't work, but there's so many like, I was looking it up and then I was like, realized The Cosby Show. The Cosby Show, Bill Cosby was a stand-up, and he mostly talked about his family and his kids and all that. His stand-up, and he had a family show. And Cosby, you know, the truth about him, what he really did around women, that's kind of monstrous. He's a terrible person for that. But the show itself is still a great show that could be arguably said that's better or as good as Seinfeld. It's lasted as long. It has the same or bigger impact on society and culture. And I forgot all about Bill Cosby was a stand-up. Also, Everybody Loves Raymond. That could be said that was even bigger than Seinfeld, more successful, more recent too. Also, Martin Lawrence was a stand-up comedian. He had his own show. It's not thought about it the same way as Seinfeld, but still was an amazing show with a very funny run. Also, Everyone Hates Chris. There's a whole bunch of other ones I didn't even put together like, oh yeah, they were stand-up comedians before. But yeah, Seinfeld is like the main one that gets thought about because he went straight from stand-up to doing this show. Like Cosby had a movie career and all that stuff. So same thing with Martin's. I guess the most comparable one is Everybody Loves Raymond. But yeah, that's the main thing I want to talk about, that show. Go watch that episode. Even if you're not a Seinfeld fan, just watch that episode and how funny it is. Also, there's this very funny scene with Elaine when she's drunk and they're in India. And she says something like through the slats in the door to Jerry. It's so funny.
There he is, an Indian.
No, what?
Jagdish.
Yes, Jagdish.
Hey, what if I got my nose pierced? That would be pretty freaky.
Yes, I think it's a fine idea. Well, good night.
Good night, Jagdish.
But thanks for listening on my one episode breakdown. Maybe I'll do some more like this, like when I just break down one episode. But it's Tuesday, May 29th. Probably do another episode this weekend. I'll see how it goes. I'm losing my voice slowly. I have a cold. But thanks for listening. Thanks for not watching The Office. Peace.